We have more eyeballs on the game, and Caitlin Clark brings that. Why would we feel some kind of way because she has?
Lisa Leslie, WNBA legend, just came up on the subject with unexpected clarity. Television controversy around Caitlin Clark regarding the Indiana Fever monopolizing the national television schedule by Leslie's incredible 41 out of 44 games. Everyone was talking after hearing the response.
Did an interview with USA Today, and I wanted to jump on really quickly and share that in case you missed it, and also share my perspective because it's so noteworthy how Lisa Leslie responds to the news that the Indiana Fever.
Her powerful viewpoint totally reverses the script and explains the reasons behind some of the top names in basketball for women. History's perspective on the matter. Unlike the critics of today, the numbers cannot be ignored. The Indiana Fever are scheduled to appear on national 440, one of their 44 regular viewers, television season games at a never-before-seen level of publicity for any team in the WNBA. This announcement has generated contentious discussions on social media, with some people in tears, partiality, while others rejoice in the enhanced awareness of the league.
Caitlin Clark making waves without winning a championship, despite getting very close. If UConn doesn't take it this year, it feels like, Paige is going to be in that same boat. So I'm curious if you think winning an NCAA championship is needed for that eventual GOAT conversation, greatest of all time status.
However, when USA Today recently made this contentious for time Olympic gold question, WNBA legend and medalist Lisa Leslie her response wasn't what many had anticipated. Refused to join the chorus of detractors or display even the smallest trace of animosity. Rather, she taught a masterclass in viewpoint that aptly explains why the women's basketball legends take a completely different approach to this scenario compared to some of the voices of today.
Marketing, and we cannot deny what Caitlin Clark has done for the women's game. I'm not going to act like it's something that we don't see. She's had a huge effect called the Caitlin Clark effect. Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? I think we have to understand that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just opens it up for everyone else. And I think Caitlin has said that even herself in certain interviews. And I love that. I love that she's not the player who's like, it's all about her. It's not. She's giving love and homage to those of us that have come before her. She shares the wealth with her teammates, and she doesn't have to do that. So I just don't, again, I don't know what the big deal is about the fact that Caitlin is getting a lot of love. She deserves that, and she's helped change this game just as a lot of other players have. But it is what it is. And I think that we are all benefiting from.
I believe that it's all about marketing with money, and we can't ignore what the contributions made by Caitlin Clark to the women's game. Leslie firmly declared, "I'm not going to pretend it's not something we do." Look at this simple acknowledgement. Breaks through the dominated noise. Talk about the WNBA since Clark's entrance.
Was National Player of the Year. I won all of the individual awards, but sometimes, it's very hard to win a national championship, regardless of how much people talk about it, like, oh, you have to have it. It is one of the hardest things to do in a tournament where you have so many games and you're trying to get there. So yeah, shout out to all of the players who were able to win national championships, but it doesn't make a player who didn't win a national championship any less of an amazing individual player and the possibility to be in the talks of being.
Leslie information, not marketing gimmick. A Hall of Famer with game knowledge. In its most advanced level is assessing Clark as a participant, initially realizing the substance underlying the interest in this basketball-centered strategy persists. Leslie clarifies that she's more than just a supporter of Clark, but admirer of the whole. "I miss seeing a Ja Wilson in the WNBA. She remains one of the greatest in my opinion. Gamers worldwide, Leslie added, commending Breanna Stewart in the speech, being among the top athletes in the world by bringing up these well-established as stars. Leslie illustrates, respecting Clark does not imply it is easy to minimize others, and in fact required to identify several forms of excellence at the same time. The main grievance was then addressed by Leslie. Confront the discrepancy in games that are aired among the other teams and the theater are about 5, 6, 10 games. We're going to get agitated. I don't think there should be less television. She mentioned that we should have access to now discover these games in a manner that we've never before, and we must recognize that this viewpoint exposes a variation over generations in the way the WNBA pioneers perceived visibility, similar to Leslie, who played when discovering on TV women's basketball was almost impossible in the multi-platform world of today. Availability is amazing. Advance a few games that differ in the scheduling of national TV appears insignificant, in contrast to the general expansion and accessibility for which I am incredibly grateful. Regarding Clark, Leslie remarked, I'm grateful for, whereas this game and all these women is, and we must take a step back to see the broad picture and how it affects everyone of us to view the wider picture. Sums up Leslie's knowledge wonderfully, contributes to this discussion as a who contributed to the WNBA's formation from its foundation. She is aware that the league has never grown in a straight line or totally equal. Various periods have had various stars, catalysts, and various opportunities that make Leslie's viewpoint in particular. It's valued since it's a. Many WNBAs share this point of view. Foundational generation, but infrequently highlighted in the news today. Legends such as Cynthia and Cheryl Swoop, Nancy Lieberman, and Cooper have comparable conveyed gratitude for Clark's influence as opposed to animosity. The gap between generations is not accidental. The faces of the women's basketball pioneers, difficulties that modern players frequently don't perform for meager pay, competing in the foreseeable future while working 2 jobs, arenas that are deserted, and battling for the most fundamental media awareness with encountered those difficulties. They frequently consider any advancement that results in more resources and focus on women's basketball as a constructive viewpoint. Additionally, depicts a distinct period in the early days of professional sports culture. There was competition in the WNBA or disputes, yet it was bound together by a shared, dedicated to advancing women's basketball, merit to be recognized as a professional, entrepreneurship, which fostered a feeling of group goal that occasionally appears. Today, it was less obvious. It was only a several spirit notes from a former WNBA player, an observer contrasting the early years to some of the more recent tense dynamics. There was intense rivalry in the court, but also a acknowledgement that everyone was constructing anything more significant together, although this isn't to romanticize the past or allude to the present. Players are indifferent to the league's achievement, but social media usage rose. Monetary stakes and the expansion of the league have produced various pressures and incentives. The situation has evolved, and with it a portion of the conversation on what's especially notable regarding Leslie's the way they break through the manufactured stories that are frequently forced on media outlets covering the Clark incident, often portray Clark's appeal as a source of conflict or animosity, that plots involving Clark and the organizations that oversimplify complicated. Leslie refuses to acknowledge certain realities. Instead of these polarizing frameworks, she provides a nuanced viewpoint that recognizes the special influence of Clark while honoring the talent of the league as a whole. This impartial viewpoint is welcome in a discussions are frequently dominated by extremist positions. Pay attention. She's a rival. She creates players and is a trash talker. Better around her. She's thrilling to Observe Leslie's attention on basketball qualities instead of this basketball is a cultural lightning rod. Centered assessment is something that many, too frequently, current conversations lack. Discussions about Clark turn into stand-ins for larger cultural discussions that obscure the game itself and its evolution. Leslie's remarks also point out an crucial aspect of in sports for women when she states that the player consumes what we all consume, recognizing a basic truth. The distribution of attention is not uniform in sports, nor have it ever included elite athletes, have consistently been given disproportionate coverage between Lisa and Cheryl Miller. From Sue Bird to AA, Leslie transformed herself. Wilson, what is the problem with Clark? Isn't it special that she gets more? Compared to other players, it's the extent of that focus, and it's early in her career, but the timing. The same star power remains the principle. Interest is fueled by power, propels growth, and this knowledge informs Leslie's pragmatic use of the television. What kind of timetable discrepancy will we get? Disappointed in May 6th, 10 games less on TV or not, I don't believe we. Should she suggest concentrating on the total growth as opposed to relative differences with this practical viewpoint? Originates from someone who has played a lot of games that Leslie didn't see on television, and her peers the reality that WNBA games are easily accessible across. Having several platforms is fantastic. Advancement, regardless of whatever particular matchups garner attention from the network.